Good afternoon, students. I welcome you all for the class. Today we'll be going to discuss the first unit of our syllabus, computer organization. Fine. In the last class we have seen regarding what are the different course outcomes of our subjects and what is the syllabus, what is the 5-unit syllabus. In brief we have covered in this in the last class, and today's class we'll be going to start the first unit, that is the basic structure of a computers. Fine. That is the basic details we'll be going to get in your subject. Fine. So here the first and the foremost thing that we are having is basic computer organization. This is the first topic in your syllabus, first unit. So the basic computer organization, the diagram of this basic computer organization is this one, as you all well aware of it, and you already have studied in your first year, that is a PPS. And the PPS you have gone through the knowledge of the computer, what is the architecture of a computer, and what are the generations of a computer, and what are the functional parts of a computer, what are the major functional parts of a computer. All the things you have seen in your the course of PPS, right? So here we'll be going to start with the basic computer organization. So in this basic computer organization, this is the things that are going to be organized. So we'll be going to have the input unit. Fine. The input unit in the sense like which we are going to give the input, and next we'll be going to have the output unit. So output unit where we are going to monitor all the things, that is the output unit. And the major important thing is here the central processing unit. In this central processing unit we call it as a CPU also. So this CPU is divided into two units. The first one is the control unit, and the next one is the arithmetic and logical unit. So this central processing unit is divided into two, that is the control unit and the arithmetic and logical unit. Majorly many of the people will forget regarding this control unit. If we ask what are the important parts, in the sense input, output, CPU, memory, that only they'll be going to say. But remember the thing, without the control unit we can't process the instructions in a proper manner. So with this control unit only, the timing signals are very important, that these timing signals are going to be generated by the control unit. So which action to be performed at what time, so the action should not collide for each other. So all these things are going to be seen by the control unit. So that's why I'm very much specific and very much particularly saying that the control unit is very important. So this is the computer basic computer organization. So we'll be going to discuss in detail regarding the each and every part that of this computer organization, like parts, that is the input unit, output unit, central processing unit, each and everything we'll be going to discuss in detail. So the first and the foremost thing is input unit. Fine. So what do you mean by an input? Input in the sense giving something to the computer. So if this is the computer, so we have to give something to the computer, so that is going to be done through the input units. So what are the basic major input units we are going to have? As we all know, the keyboard, the first one, and next one is mouse. These are the very much familiar input units, we are very much known. Fine. So input in the sense anything that feeds the data into the computer, that we call it as an input. So whatever the data it may be a alphanumeric data, or it may be some sort of data. In order to process, we need to give the input. So some of the different examples of this input unit are the keyboard, mouse, joysticks we are having, light pen we are having, and barcodes we are having, image scanners we are having, whatnot, touch sensitive screens we are having, all these are comes under the input devices. Fine. So let me show you. So first one is the input devices. So the things I have mentioned is keyboard, mouse, joysticks, digitizer tablets, touch sensitive screen, all these comes under the input device. So let me tell you about the keyboard. What is the keyboard? It is a standard input operator control device for a computer. So this is the major one. So it consists of a standard QWERTY layout with a numeric keypad, right? So with the help of this keyboard only, we'll be going to feed the instructions to the computer. Next one is mouse. Mouse is also one of the most popular input device, as we all know, right? So when we move it across on the desk and its movement is shown on the screen, so you will be going to do a particular operation by making use of a mouse. And next, as a joystick, many of you have known this joystick. Like, we'll be going to have the rotatory lever over there, similar to that uh, like stick, it'll stick like thing you'll be going to have. Like, what it is going to do is it enables you to move within the screen environment. It is widely used in computer games, so you can find this in games. Like, when we are going to play the games, these joysticks are very much useful. And next one is a digitizer tablet. So it is a pointing device that facilitates accurate inputs and drawings and designs. Everything is going to be done by making use of a digitized tablet. And touch sensitive screens are nothing but these are very much interactive with the computer. By touching the screen with a small feather touch also, it can sense the things, and it is going to do the required things for us, right? These are the different input devices we are having. So there are many you will be going to have, but some of the input devices are these. And whatever the output devices. So the output devices, what is the purpose of output device? Output device is used for displaying the information. So the most common output device is monitor, like as it looks like a TV, as you all know. So some of the output devices are printer, plotter, speakers, monitors, all these comes under the output devices. Fine. So these are the different input devices and output devices, as you are very much familiar of it. That's why I have started this input device and the output device. And let me come to the memory. So so we have completed the input device and the output device, right? The sixth thing we have done with. And let me talk regarding the major important one. On the heart of the computer is the central processing unit. Why we are telling it as the heart of the computer? Why? Because without the CPU, it is like an empty box. We can't do anything without the CPU. So that's the reason we are telling it as the heart of the computer. So what is the main fundamental operation of the CPU? What is the main operation in the sense? To execute a sequence of stored instructions. What that stored instructions, we call it as a program. Fine. To execute a sequence of instructions, we are in need of a CPU. So how we are going to represent a program? So we are going to represent a program by a series of numbers that are going to be stored in the computer memory. So when we want to execute anything, the CPU needs 4 steps. So these are the major steps also, we can say. The first one is fetch the instruction. Next one is decode the instruction. Next one is execute the instruction. Fine. And next one is write back the instruction, display. These are the 4 major tasks that is going to be done by the central processing unit. First, we have to fetch the particular instruction in the memory. So in this memory is also having the main memory and the secondary memory, that I'll be going to discuss when it comes to the memory unit. So fetching the instruction in the sense, in the whole memory, where the instruction has been located, that it is going to be fetched, right? So that we call it as a fetching. So here we will be going to have thousands of instructions, thousands of instructions. In the thousands of instructions, suppose I have asked about some particular X instruction or some particular Y instruction. Suppose this instruction, where this X instruction has been loaded over here, so that is the fetching. So once we got that instruction, so after I have got this instruction somewhere over at 969th address location, I have got the instruction X. After getting this X instruction, what I have to do is I have to decode it. Decoding is nothing but like converting. I'll be telling you all the things. Fine. Next one is the decoding of instruction. So when we are going to decode the instruction, that means from high level language it is going to convert it to machine level language, which is going to be understandable by the computer. So decoding involves converting of high level language to machine level language. Why? Because high level language is understandable only by the human beings but not by the computer. So computer can understand only this machine level language, that is the zeros and ones binary language. So decoding in the sense converting this high level language into machine level language, which is understandable by the computer. And after converting, then we are going to execute it. After executing, we'll be going to display it on the monitor. So these are the things that are going to be done by the CPU. So that is the CPU. Next one is the uh, we'll be going to have different types of memory. Next one we'll be going to study regarding this memory unit. So what do you mean by a memory? Memory is used for storing. For storing purpose we are going to use the memory. So what are the different types of memories we are having? We are having main memory and the secondary memory. Main memory is in contact with the CPU. CPU can contact only the main memory. CPU cannot contact the secondary memory. So if any particular instruction is there in secondary memory, so that instruction cannot be executed by the CPU. Why? Because CPU will execute the instructions that are present only in the main memory. Even though our instruction is present in the secondary memory, we have to get that instruction to the main memory, and then this instruction is going to be executed by the CPU. So here the finally what I want to say is, if any instruction needs to be executed, that instruction must and should be placed in the central processing unit. Until unless if you are placing that in the main memory, CPU will not execute. So that is the primary memory or the main memory. Fine. So purpose of why we are going to store, in the sense, without storing we can't do the further processing. So that is the major reason we have to store. So and this main memory we call it as a the that one. So that main memory is very very important. So in order to have the data to be executed, must and should the data should be present in the main memory only. Fine. And that is the memory unit. Then what is regarding the control unit? The control unit is used for controlling all parts of the computer. Fine. And the system bus is very very important. Like let us have a glance at each and everything in detail. So CPU, this why is CPU? In the sense, CPU is the heart of the computer, as I have said you early. Fine. This CPU is going to be having the three things, that is the fetch, decode, execute, and also the write back also. Write back in the sense which is going to display it on the screen. So this CPU is considered as the brain of the computer. CPU performs all types of data processing operations. It stores data, immediate results, and instructions program. It controls the operations of all parts of the computer. So the fundamental operation of most CPU is to execute a sequence of instructions that is stored. Fine. This is the fundamental operation of the CPU. And next one is fetch, decode, and execute. Fetching of instruction. What do you mean by a fetching of instruction? So we are going to store each and every data onto the memory, right? This main memory we can say it as, and it has its own address. Suppose here we'll be going to have this main memory divided into like blocks. Each blocks has its own address. So this address is 201, 202. Sequence you will be going to have 3204, like that you will be going to having. So the processor takes this address from the program counter. So suppose if CPU wants to execute X instruction, so now this we need to know where this address of this X instruction, right? So that address will be going to store in the program instruction register. Instruction register in the sense the instruction which is currently being executed is going to be stored in the instruction register. The instruction which we need to store next, the next instruction address will be going to stored in the program counter. PC in the sense program counter, IR in the sense instruction register. Make it carefully, make a note of it. Instruction register stores the currently executed instruction address, and program counter stores the next instruction address which is going to be executed by the CPU. So that is fetching of instruction is going to be done. After fetching, what we have to do, we have to decode that particular instruction. Decoding in the sense we'll be going to write in the high level language, but the computer will understand only machine level language. So converting that high level language to machine level language, we call it as a decoding. Next one is executing. After decoding, we have to do executing. If that executing involves some arithmetic and logical operations, we'll be going to send to the ALU, and then the final result will be going to display it on the screen. So this is the first important part, that is the CPU. Next is input devices, as we have already seen, and the output devices we have already seen. And next comes the memory. Memory is nothing but which is very important. In order to store the programs and data, we will be going to call it as a memory. So here it is basically of two types of memory. The first one is the primary memory, and the second one is the secondary memory. This primary memory we can also call it as a main memory. Fine. Primary memory we can call also it as a main memory. The CPU will contact only this primary memory but not the secondary memory. Programs must be stored in this memory while they are being executed. The memory contains a large number of semiconductor storage cells, each capable of storing 1 bit of information. So when it comes to the secondary memory, it is used where large amount of, like a huge amount of data is there. We'll be going to store it in the secondary memory. Huge amount of data like magnetic disks, tapes, optical disc, all these are called the examples of secondary memory. And the next one is the arithmetic and logical unit. So in microprocessors, ALU is divided into two. The first one is the AU is the arithmetic unit, and LU is the logical unit. Combinedly we call it as an arithmetic and logical unit. So it is one of the major component of the CPU. Why? Because in order to do all the related calculations, we need this arithmetic and logical unit. And next one is the system bus. So we'll in system bus is divided into three. The first one is address bus, next one is data bus, and third one is control bus. So these three things call as a system bus. Combinedly we call it as a system bus. So what is this address bus? So address bus is used to carry the address to the memory and IO. It is an unidirectional. Do remember, address bus is unidirection, only one way communication. When it comes to the data bus, we'll be going to have a two-way communication. Why? Because from the memory we have to send to CPU, and from CPU we have to send to the memory. So this is why you will be going to have the two-way communication. So the address lines is used to carry the address to memory and IO. It is an unidirectional. Based on width of the address bus, we can determine the capacity of the main memory. So if it is an 8-bit, 16-bit, like that width of an address bus, we can define the capacity of the main memory. When it comes to the data bus, this data bus is used to carry the data. It is a bidirectional one. So based on the width of the data bus, we can determine the word length of a CPU. Is it 32-bit or 16-bit or 64-bit. This word length we can determine by making use of the data bus. And last one is the control bus. What is the major task of this control bus? It is used to carry the control signals and the timing signals. So this control bus indicates the type of operation. So this control bus is used to synchronize the memory and the IO operations. So without this control bus, we can't perform the operations in a synchronized manner. So most of you will forget to say the control bus, but do remember the control bus is one of the major unit which is responsible for controlling all the tasks of a computer. Without the control bus, we can't perform the operations in a sequence of a manner without any rupture. Fine. This is the basic structure of a computer. These are the things that are going to be comes when we are going to discuss with the basic computer organization. Fine. This is how all the things when connected together, then only we will be going to get the output in a well defined manner. So each and every operation, each and every unit needs to work in a proper manner. If any of the unit is not working, we'll be not going to get the desired output what we are going to be expecting. So that's the reason the functional units of a computer are very very important to work in order to get a desired output. Fine. That's all for today, students. In the next class, we'll be going to discuss regarding the another topics of the first unit. Fine. Thank you, students. Have a great day.